individualism, but with a question mark, and existentialism. Certainly, mainstream existentialist philosophy and educational practice has a reputation and a reality of emphasizing individualism, certainly individualism over any sort of conformity. Existentialism is very hostile to any top-down imposition, any sort of argument that students and adult human beings should obey higher authorities who are empowered to tell them what to do and make them do it, and also to any sort of horizontal authority, any sort of conformity to peer pressure or doing things simply because other people on one's level socially are exerting pressure upon one to do so. There's an emphasis here on choice being a capacity that individuals have, commitment being a subjective phenomenon that we have to make commitment to, and placing the responsibility upon the individual for crafting and following through rather on developing a meaningful life. So, individualism does seem philosophically built into the marrows of existentialism, and that certainly has implications for existentialist practice. It makes sense then that as teachers, we're going to be encouraging and facilitating students working on their own projects at their own paces. The teacher is facilitating that whole set of processes there. Of course, students will choose, in many cases, to work with other students or to do joint projects, but that's not something that we can force them necessarily to do. And then also the students will be responsible for working out the dynamics of that social interaction, again, with the teacher facilitating here. So what will be required of us as teachers certainly is going to be to get to know our students as individuals and to work with them as individuals. And this is necessarily then going to require fairly small classes, fairly flexible classroom setups, and perhaps a wide variety of teachers with a number of expertises who can facilitate students in a variety of directions here. Now, I have a question mark aside with the individualism here because for both philosophical reasons and practical reasons, the place of individualism in existentialism is fraught with difficulty, right, shall we say. What we have in existentialism is an explicitly subjectivistic, right, approach to the individual. We're emphasizing things that individualists prize, and that is choice, commitment, responsibility. But at the same time, in this version, right, of individualism, we are stripping away any sort of a God, any sort of religious institutions, even any sort of nature or nature-based scientific institutions that can provide any sort of a container, right, or a framework. There is nothing imposing on the individual from the hardcore existentialist perspective. Instead, everything comes from within the individual, and so there is no perspective or standpoint for anybody to tell anybody what is the right kind of a choice and so forth to make. And so since existentialism from this perspective seems so wide open, we do run into standard problems for subjectivist versions of individualism. What if you have a student, for example, who chooses to, I don't know, be a bully, right, or to be completely passive and a couch potato, right, of life, or to engage in a destructive activity of sabotaging other students while they're working on their projects and so forth. If we as teachers can't be authoritarian, if there's no such thing as a right answer, we're not stand-ins for God, then it seems like the existentialists won't let us tell that student, hey, what you're doing is wrong, stop it. And if you persist in doing so, then we can make you do it, because after all, the student is just expressing his individual choice and so forth.